Back here on BMO Harris Bank pregame live. We're at the United Center tonight. Bulls and the Indiana Pacers. Our injury report brought to you by Athletico, chosen provider of rehabilitation, fitness, and performance services for the Chicago Bulls. The Pacers without the services tonight of, get this, Paul George, David West, George Hill, C.J. Watson, C.J. Miles, and Rodney Stuckey. All those players are out for the Pacers. Derrick Rose out for the Bulls tonight with the strained hamstring. And welcome back courtside, everybody. Both teams on the court, Bulls and the Pacers. I'm Steve Cashel, so happy to be joined by the Bulls head team physician, Dr. Brian Cole from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush University Medical Center. And Doc, we saw you on the Discovery Channel just a couple weeks ago with the famous Nick Wallenda, who's going to be in the audience tonight. He is. The tightrope walker, yeah.
Oh, I got to find him.
Who scaled the city of Chicago. We've got some video here on Bulls TV. What was that experience like for you firsthand?
It was, I've done it. You and I do our show on Saturdays, and I've done some other TV-type things, but this was probably one of the most interesting things I've ever been involved with. Also, I would say even a bit nerve-wracking, only to the extent that when you realize there's 220 million people and, 22 million people in 220 countries, it takes on a new magnitude, just that part of it.
You were on the Discovery Channel as kind of the medical director, right?
Well, I was, I guess I provided, I wouldn't call it director, I was providing commentary about sort of the physical aspect of doing that walk and what goes into it, walking up an incline at 15 degrees, and how does one actually balance on a wire, and then what happens when you take away vision. So it was, it's not like you go to school as an orthopedic surgeon and learn about what it's like to be on a tightrope. Right. But it was really interesting, and I learned a lot.
I wanted to ask you, is Nick Wallenda an athlete in your opinion?
He's an athlete, but not like the way you and I think about athletes, because the way he does the way he's able to do this is a very complex. It's almost like a supercomputer. I mean, he has to deal with his inner ear, the vestibular system, which is all about balance, and he has to deal with proprioception. His body is really plugged into where his joints are in position in space, and then vision. So the thing about the vision was that you've got the inner ear, proprioception, and vision, and then you take away vision, which is what he did for the last part of it, and that's a game changer because of the level of what happens to his whole nervous system and how it can potentially either break down or obviously catastrophe could happen. So, and he made it look easy.
Wow. Dr. Brian Cole is with us from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, the Bulls head team physician. Get ready for the Bulls and Pacers. Everyone wants to know about Derrick Rose. How's Derrick doing?
Derrick's doing well. I think, being in the media, these things can take a life of their own. And I think the important thing is that in and of themselves, these individual events are actually rather small. But they always take on greater magnitude, especially, in face of what's going on in the media last week. It was a crazy week, but, mentally and physically he's doing great, and these are minor things. And, you got to remember, there's guys who have injuries, and they're out 2, 3, 4 weeks. I mean, I see this all the time because we look at other players during trade and all this other stuff. So it's not uncommon. If you look at the list that are out for the Pacers tonight, I mean, it blows you away when you see how many guys are out. Injury is very common, but we're all sort of hyper-focused. But in totality, thankfully, these things are very small events. And he had, major progress today. He looks really good. And so we'll see for Monday, or, there's every reason in the world to be cautious. For no other reason, it's a very long season. We've got a deep bench. Tom knows what he's doing, and the team knows what they're doing, and it's best to rest him in a situation where you worry about further injury.
Dr. Brian Cole with us from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, Bulls head team physician. Finally, I wanted to ask you about your approach. You do surgery, obviously, on the players, but also the mental challenge that these guys go through. You have to almost play the role of psychologist sometimes, don't you?
I would say that 90% of what I do deals with the psyche of an individual. When they're used to being active and it's taken away from them in a moment's notice when it's unanticipated, that's what an accident is. It's a really big deal, and I think we often underestimate the impact of what injury has on an individual. Take a 15-year-old girl, female soccer player. I mean, she's probably been playing since she's been 3, 4, 5 years old, travel soccer, 11 months a year. All of a sudden there's an injury. This is often what their self-esteem is made of. It's a big deal. So when there's this type of injury, it wreaks havoc on an individual's psyche.
Doc, thanks so much. Continued success with Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. You guys do a great job, and we're happy to have you here with the Bulls.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, Dr. Brian Cole, the Bulls head team physician. Stay with us, folks. Coming up next, I'll be rejoined by Bill Wennington for our Chili's Chatter question of the night. We've got the Bulls and Pacers. Appreciate everybody watching us here on Bulls TV on the Bulls website, bulls.com. Stay with us with more on the Bulls Radio Network.